Hey everybody, Bill 1911 here. Hey, today we're going to take a look at the Ruger P-94. Okay, this is a polymer frame gun, plastic gun, with a steel slide. Now, personally, I really like this gun. I think it's very attractive with that plum-colored finish, kind of brownish colored on the top, on the slide. I've always liked this gun. It's a pretty good shooter. It has a good bit of muzzle flip when you pull the trigger, which is very typical of the 40 Smith & Wesson round. What do we mean by muzzle flip? We mean when you pull the trigger, the muzzle rises very quickly on it. It's got a sharp recoil to it. Instead of a real push back, it pops that front end up pretty good. I have shot guns that are a lot worse, like the Desert Eagle in 50 Action Express. Man, the muzzle flip on that is so bad that when I pull the trigger, it rocks back so far that the cartridges come out the top of the gun and hit me in the face when I'm shooting it. Not very pleasant. This gun is nowhere near like that. There are a couple of things I want to show you on this about taking it apart, because it might kind of throw you off a little bit when you start to take it apart, and you might figure, what in the heck am I doing wrong? All right, so the first thing we have to do is, as always, we're going to clear the gun. Make sure that there's no ammunition in the gun. First, the magazine is out of the well. Then we're going to take the slide and we're going to lock it all the way back so it's open like that. Now we can look in the chamber. But there is another reason for doing this. When you try to disassemble this gun, it will not come apart unless inside the gun you take this part. Let me see if I can make sure I can see it so you can see it. All right, right here. Okay, you see this little rod sticking out right here? Okay, this is called the ejector. So what that does is you put your finger on that and you push it down, okay, out of the way. And it folds down into the frame of the gun, okay? If you do not push that down, you will not disassemble this gun. It just isn't going to come apart. All right, so from there, we're going to release the slide and let it go forward. Now, the second thing I need to show you in this is right here on the slide, you'll see a little mark, okay? You'll see another mark on the frame just about 1/4 of an inch back. These are called timing marks. And this is where you need to put the slide, has to move back to that position before you can take the gun apart. Now, to push the slide back to where those marks are aligned. Now, on the opposite side of the gun, you'll see this little knob sticking out from this pin. You push that in on the right-hand side of the gun, and that's going to push this slide lock slide ejector out some so you can get a hold of it and extract it. From there, the slide, barrel, guide rod, and recoil spring slides right off the end of the gun. Okay? From there, we can see what we need to oil in here, a few of these springs and metal parts, okay, that are going to need some oil. And we can, from there, also disassemble the recoil spring from the slide, okay. We can pull the barrel out of the slide and clean everything up. So, it's a nice little gun, but if you don't push that part right here down, that ejector rod down inside that frame, you can't take the gun apart. It just doesn't come apart. Now, if you look, there's like a little arm right here that's sticking up, okay? When I push that ejector down, that arm is going to now fold back into the frame. I hope you can see it moving, okay? Once that's folded out of the way, that's what locks that slide and keeps it from going forward, is that little part right there. So, let's get to cleaning everything up like we always do. We're going to need a bore cleaning solvent. Now, this is a military bore cleaning solvent that I bought a ton of back in the day, and I'm down to about 1 can left now. We're going to wet a patch, and we're going to start cleaning off any of the old deposits that we've got on this gun. Now, this gun is particularly dirty. It just is. All right. So the Ruger is a nice gun. One of the best things that I can say about Ruger, the corporation, is that these guys really stand behind their product. If you have a problem with the gun, you buy a gun and it's not acting right, believe me, if you bring it to their attention, they are going to do whatever it takes to fix that gun. Okay, they are probably the best in the industry about standing behind their product. Now, they're all good. Smith & Wesson is good, but I don't think anybody stacks up to Ruger as far as standing behind their product. It's one of the reasons why I like them so much. Okay, I don't get anything out of it when I say that Ruger has probably the best customer service of anybody out there. They really are good. They take it very seriously. You know, when you don't have any sponsors, like I don't, yet, I'm hoping to get some sponsors, but we just started this channel not too long ago. So when you don't have a sponsor and you're not getting anything out of it, what I'm saying about this is because I really believe in their product. I think they make a fantastic gun, and I think that they are probably the best in the industry about standing behind their product. So, now as a gunsmith, I've, of course, probably run into more issues than you do, but I've never had anything that Ruger did not bend over backwards to try to make right. Their procedures for dealing with them are also very simple and straightforward, and not a lot of garbage to get it done. Alright, so we get this all cleaned up in here. Now, this gun is definitely pretty filthy. So, we get it all cleaned up, and then we can oil it and put it back together. Other than that ejector thing, where you got to push the ejector down to get it apart, this gun is actually fairly simple. It's not a very complicated piece. As far as taking it apart and servicing it is concerned. Every gun is different, of course. They've all got their quirks. But this one, if you don't know about this, pushing that down, you're going to wrestle with it all day and go, what in the heck am I doing wrong? So, try to keep that in mind if you have a Ruger 94, that you're going to have to do that. Alright, so, I think we've got things fairly well cleaned up in here. Let's just make sure we got that. Alright. Okay, so, it looks pretty good. Alright, now, I got to tell you, I really do like this gun a lot. It's a good piece. If you want, I don't say we do it on every gun every single time we clean it, but you can take the side panels off of this thing by pulling the one screw loose at the bottom. Okay. And reaching in there and popping that grip out. Okay. Pops right out. Alright. You can do that on both sides if you want, and you will expose a few more of the parts that are into this gun if you want to go ahead and lubricate them. So, as I take this apart, okay, alright, this is pretty well lubricated in here. There's a pretty good amount of oil in it, so I'm probably not going to put any oil down in here. If you want, you can get in there and clean up in your magazine well a little bit, try to get all the soot and everything out of there. It makes it easier when those grips are off. I wouldn't say you have to do this every single time you clean the gun, but it doesn't hurt to do it once in a while. Okay, we'll put our grips back on. Alright, and put the screws back in it. Alright, pretty simple process. Oh, get in there, you little stinker. Boy, I'll tell you what, runaway screw. Now, as always, when you tighten something down, it's not an issue on this gun, but on other guns, when you're tightening your grip screws up, don't bear down on them, because if you've got a screw that goes through the middle of the grip, like a lot of guns do, you can crack that grip pretty easily. So snug them up so they're solid, but you don't have to go insane with it and crank it down like there's no tomorrow. Just get it snug, okay? So from here, let's get our oil can out and start oiling things. Now, this is called the barrel link, okay, this little part right here, all right? Now, this is constantly moving with every shot. This is moving, so it's a high wear area, so you're going to want to put a drop of oil down in there. Okay, on any high wear area where there's a lot of movement that's taking place, you're going to want some oil in it, okay? You'll be able to see in the slide places that are shining. These places that are shining because it's rubbing back and forth as it works. So you're going to want a little oil in there, just a hair, wherever you see it shining. Okay, you don't have to go crazy on that, just a little bit, and you can rub it back and forth and cover the whole thing, you're done. Okay, don't have to go crazy with this. Alright, so now, again, I'm seeing some other shiny spots that are down in here that we're going to want to get some oil in. And you're always going to want to make sure, there are two places that I say always put some oil in. One of them is the safety, okay, because you want that safety to be free. All right. The other place on the slide that I always recommend getting some oil on is the extractor. Okay, now that's the hook that hooks the cartridge and pulls it out of the chamber. Okay, so this also moves with every single shot. Okay, so make sure you get some lubrication in there. All right, any excess oil you get on the outside of the gun, just wipe it off. It's not going to kill it. Okay. Alright, so I think we've got that oiled. Now there is one other area in this slide that I want to tell you about, and that is these little rails that are right in here. This is where the slide travels. Get a little bit of oil in there, alright? And then, alright, we can start reassembling the gun, alright? So I always like to put a little oil on the outside of the barrel, because the barrel, when the gun is in operation, slides back and forth in the slide right through here, and it's going to be a high wear area. So I like to put a little bit of oil in there, alright, it doesn't take a lot, and then run it back and forth a couple times, and that's going to coat everything where it's making contact. Okay, so we're going to get a few drops of oil on the recoil spring. Now this is what they call a complex spring. There are two springs wrapped around that guide rod in opposing directions. Okay, so everything as this moves is rubbing on each other. You definitely want to get some oil in there. The biggest reason is to drop the amount of friction so that the gun will cycle properly. If it gets stiff, that gun just isn't going to cycle. Okay, so get some oil in that spring. You can kind of work it around a little bit and wiggle with it and all that, and it'll work it in. You'll get it into all of it. Okay, from here, we're going to put the guide rod back into the gun. Now it slips right up into a socket that's right here in the front of the slide. Okay, you're going to slip that end into that socket, the plastic end. You'll see one end has plastic on it and the other end is metal. You're going to slip that plastic end in there and then push it down into position on the other end, on the barrel end. Okay, now there is a little notch in the barrel right here on the front of this lug, okay, that metal piece from that spring is going to go into. Now you're going to have to push it forward a little bit with your thumbs and down to pop it into place. It's not real bad. It goes in fairly easily. Okay, once you're in that position, the gun is ready to put back together. So, from there, I'm going to simply take my frame, turn it upside down, and just slide it into place. Okay? Now, it's going to have to go back until those timing marks that I showed you earlier line up. Once those timing marks line up, you can press this pin back into place until it goes all the way in. All right? Now, once you've done that, probably the easiest way to deal with that ejector that's folded down into the gun is push your slide all the way back and lock it open, okay? And then just take your magazine and put it into the magazine well, and that's going to cause that to flip right up into position, and the gun is reassembled and ready to go. Okay? So, simple as that. Okay? And that's it. And that is the P-94 Ruger in .40 Smith & Wesson. Hey everybody, Bill 1911 here. If you found this video to be helpful and informative, don't forget to like us, and please subscribe, and by all means come to visit us at askbill1911.com. Also, I want to talk to you about something that's very important to us, and that's your safety. So please, don't try any of the things you see on our videos until you have thoroughly reviewed and understood our safety procedures. If you're under 18 years of age, do not try any of these topics without the express permission of your parent or guardian. Thank you.